All right, back at it again. It's the Football Playbook. Ric Serritella here. Kyle T. Mosley there down in New Orleans. Appreciate you hanging through the technical difficulties. And, of course, SI.com, New Orleans Saints, HBCU. Kyle T. Mosley dropping knowledge here, giving us a finger on the pulse when we talk about the New Orleans Saints. And this defense, Kyle, I want to start off right there because, again, they have not allowed 20 points since week 9. I look at the secondary, especially, it's littered with talented players. Alante Taylor was a guy I liked coming out of Tennessee. You put him back there with Bradley Roby. I see Paulson Adebo, the Honey Badger, Tyrann Matthews still back there making plays. This is a very stout defense led by, surprisingly, the secondary.
Yeah, well, surprisingly so, because the secondary was having some issues in the middle of the season, especially when Roby as well as Marshawn Lattimore went down and they were out for a number of games. And Marshawn still hasn't returned yet. He's now a little bit more healthy. They anticipate that he could be able to be in the Eagles game. Still not sure about that as well. But the defensive line has really played very well as well. You look at Cam Jordan, the 13-year veteran, who, in a few sacks, I think he has 2.5 sacks away from eclipsing Ricky Jackson for the franchise all-time record. And you have Marcus Davenport, he's healthy again. The young guy, Carl Granderson, has really been a steal for the New Orleans Saints, since they brought him on from his days in Wyoming and, had that little legal trouble at first. And you look at Payton Turner, who really hasn't been a factor, the former number 1 draft pick from last season, but he still could be able to come into a game and affect the game if he's healthy or not. The problem has also been with the Saints with the linebacking core. Pete Warner has been in and out due to injury. You have some replacements like Kaden Ellis, who's done a fabulous job. And, you have the old vet, all-pro Demario Davis, who's going to just be who he is, a tackling machine. So the defense has always been the strength of the team for the past, I would say, past three, 4 seasons. Even when Drew Brees was there, his arm was still waning, but the defense was the strength of the team. So right now, if the Saints have any chance to win these next 2 games, you have to rely on the defense.
No, that's a great overview perspective there of the Saints defensive breakdown. Man, you did a great job covering it all. I will say Demario Davis playing solid ball. Kaden Ellis is interesting because Christian Ellis, his brother, is a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. Right. Just got signed to the 53-man roster, actually, full-time here a couple weeks ago. And I see Kaden Ellis has kind of come on like gangbusters down the stretch. I mean, he's blowing up the backfield. He's making all kinds of tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And it's coming at a good time, no? Because I think he's going to be an unrestricted free agent after the season.
Yeah, he should be having the interest of a number of teams who's looking for somebody. But I think he has a good chance to remain with the New Orleans Saints, especially if Dennis Allen remains with the Saints, because he's very high on Kaden.
Well, we'll get into that topic, I'm sure, before the segment is over. But let's talk about the offense first. Any given Sunday, as you said, we haven't seen Jameis back there in a while. I guess the injuries have been too much to overcome. It seems like we can get Taysom Hill in spurts, and then he disappears. Then he comes back around again. I know Andy Dalton threw for almost 400 yards the last time he faced the Eagles. I'm assuming Dalton is going to start. Are we going to see Taysom Hill? How does that whole quarterback situation, is it a week-to-week thing, Kyle? How do they play that?
No, you're going to find Dalton. He's going to be the starter. And unless he has a significant injury, I think he's going to be the starter throughout the remainder of the season. The situation between Coach Allen and Jameis Winston is a puzzling situation. And I say that very lightly because Jameis wanted to play, and Jameis had the ability to come back from the 4 vertebrae that were cracked, and I think he's pretty healthy at the moment. But I also believe that Dalton was more of a Allen type of guy, someone who's conservative, who's not going to be erratic at times. And, and you can't say that Dalton has protected the ball any better than Jameis did last season, because I think his interception rate is higher than Jameis's. So I just think it was just a confluence of, do you have a guy that you can trust, or do you go with a guy that who has a high threshold, and James can be able to do that. The concern with Dalton has been for the New Orleans Saints, can he win a game for you? And that's why they haven't had back-to-back wins. There were times where Dalton needed to be able to put the team in position to win, and he could not deliver. So I think that was some of the issues that, from a media standpoint, and some of the fans viewed as well. Why wouldn't you put Jameis back into the fold? Now, here's the thing about Taysom Hill. Unless Taysom Hill has 9+ touches per game, the Saints usually lose. And what was puzzling against the Browns is that he did not get into the game and have any action until 21 offensive plays were already ran. And once he did get into the game, he and Alvin Kamara just, as a tandem, really put it to the Browns. And that's how they were able to have 17 unanswered points, as well as the defense shut them down in the second half and won the game.
Yeah, it's such a weird formula to get to the W. So with that being said, are we going to see that? Like, to me, if the Saints want to win in Philly, they might need some chicanery and some Taysom Hill looks. So is that something that the Eagles should anticipate seeing? Because I feel like we don't see Taysom Hill for like a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden he comes out and they take the cat out of the bag, and it's just a weird dynamic. I mean, what can we expect, or should we not anticipate? Because I don't think the Saints know from week to week how they're going to employ a Taysom Hill.
Yeah, it's hard. What to expect is the unexpected. That's what to expect with the Saints. And you're right, the inconsistency in the play calling has been something that was kind of weird, because Pete Carmichael for a number of years was right there under Sean Payton. But I think it also signifies that you saw why Sean Payton was the play caller primarily for a lot of times. I know there was a season where Pete Carmichael did do the play calls with Drew Brees when Sean Payton was out due to his suspension. There were some stretches in seasons where Sean Payton allowed Pete Carmichael to call the plays, and he just sat back and did his head coaching duties. And those times you saw a high production from the New Orleans Saints, but there was a lack of balance as well. And you saw that early on in season where he and Jameis were not on the same page sometimes. And sometimes when there was obvious run plays, there were passing plays. And there were some passing plays you were like, you need just 2-3 yards to pick up first down, and you throw on 20 to 30 yards down the field. So, yeah, there's inconsistencies there. I don't know what to expect, but the Saints need to be able to put some points on the board if they're going to be able to contend against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Talking to Kyle T. Mosley here on the Football Playbook. Couple last notes on the offensive side. Everybody tends to think the Saints are just a ground and pound, running with Kamara, sprinkling Taysom Hill, but football fans are starting to learn some of these wide receivers the Saints have. One was expected to do big things. The other, not so much, and is doing big things. Tell me about Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed.
Wow. Shaheed is the biggest surprise and the most pleasant surprise of the whole season. And it doesn't overshadow what Chris Olave, the number one draft choice, is doing and has done for the Saints. But Rashid, you look at Chris Olave and you pair him with Rashid, and if they're able to get another number 3 wide receiver, or have Michael Thomas become healthy and stay with the team, you're looking at a very potent offensive dynamic for the New Orleans Saints, because Olave knows how to fill those gaps in the zones, find, sit down, wait for the pass, give Dalton a target. He's done it all season. I think that's why he's a contender for Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. And Shaheed, man, he just brings that downfield presence. Of the speed has really been alarming to some of the defensive coordinators out there. So you look at an undrafted guy like Rashid, and you look at Chris Olave, and if they're able to get a couple more of those guys in the fold to really produce, the Saints still have a good future at the wide receiving position.
Yeah, I saw my guy Temple Tough, Keith Kirkwood, is getting a few third down reps.
Yeah.
So hopefully we see him sprinkled into the mix there.
He came back to the Saints.
Yeah. And Olave, yeah, you're right. I think he's in for a big week. The Eagles currently struggling mightily in zone coverage. Olave, I saw, is thriving in zone coverage now. You mentioned Sean Payton in this segment. I mean, he's now including Vic Fangio as a package deal as his defensive coordinator, I hear. Numerous teams reportedly interested, and I saw a report yesterday. Maybe he could reunite with the Saints, who actually own his rights. Is this a real thing, Kyle? Ali.
Look, rumors, right? Right now, if you're playing the odds right now in Vegas, I think the odds are high that he's going to return next season. I just don't know if it's Arizona, if it's Denver, or New Orleans. Sean Payton doesn't strike me as the guy that wants to go back to where he once was. He wants to advance to a new position somewhere else to be able to have a new challenge. And I think Denver gives him a better opportunity, in my estimation. You have Russell Wilson, who really needs to have a coach that believes in him and be able to look at what's going on. I just think he and Hackett were just a bad fit, just an odd fit altogether. The type of system, he's not a timing quarterback. He's never been. He's off schedule type of guy. That's how he was able to succeed in Seattle. All right, and you look at what's happening in Arizona. Kyler Murray, can he return at the start of the season from that ACL injury? But you do have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins out there, right? You do have some good talent on the offensive side. So what would Sean Payton do? Would he prefer to come back to the New Orleans Saints, a system and a team and a city that he loves and people love him? Or would he decide to go elsewhere to embrace a new challenge?
All right, Glenn, we're running out of time here. I promise you, we'll bring you back on before February 25th, which I see is the date for the HBCU Legacy Bowl, 3 p.m. on NFL Network. Looking forward to getting back down to New Orleans. I hear you are on the advisory committee now, correct?
Yeah, yes, I am.
All right, so looking forward to that. And then I see here it is the Kyle T. Mosley birthday today. Will the birthday boy be?
Oh, man. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
My man. Will you be making the trek up to Philadelphia by any chance?
No, I won't be headed to Philly because there's an HBCU basketball tournament that's in the Virgin Islands. And I've been asked to cover that. So I'll be in the Virgin Islands for 6 days, being able to have a nice time. My son and I, he's my photographer and videographer, so he's going to be with me. So sorry, the cold of Philly won't be able to see me this time.
Damn, man. I was going to say, if you need a camera guy, like, hit me up. I can get down there. I'll have Tone beam me in. We'll stream from the Virgin Islands. Let me know next time. Well, hey, appreciate the time. Happy birthday, Kyle.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having you back next year, draft season, HBCU Legacy Bowl. And I got to get a prediction from you on the way out, and then let us know where to find all the great content, the website, the Twitter handle, all that great stuff.
Sure. Prediction, as far as the game is concerned, I think the Eagles will win because they have to win. They have to clinch, and they will love to do it in front of the people at Lincoln Field, right? So I would have to go with the Eagles and winning the game. Now, as far as finding me, you can find me on Twitter at KTMOZE, as well as HBCU Legends, as well as Saints News, where we have the coverage for the New Orleans Saints as well as HBCUs.
Does a great job. Happy to have him here on the show. Can't wait to see you down in New Orleans, and safe travels, my friend, down to the Virgin Islands.
Thank you, man. You take care, Rick.
There you have it. The birthday boy, Kyle T. Mosley.